How you doing, everybody? I'm Matt Dinerman, the track announcer here at Oaklawn Park. Another edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, presented by Oaklawn Park. Here in the Oaklawn Today studios, we've got a lot of fun, exciting items on the agenda here for our Out of the Starting Gate episode, Apple Blossom Week 2025. Of course, what we're going to go over, we've got a hidden gem for you, a horse that I thought ran very well on debut, didn't win, but had a bad trip that you could see next time win a maiden special weight, and I would think would be the favorite in his next start. We'll talk about that hidden gem in a little bit. We're going to go over a couple of races, stakes for Arkansas breds, the Rainbow Miss and the Rainbow Stakes we saw this past Sunday. Also looking forward to this week, the return of Skelly. Of course, he's a two-time Count Fleet Handicap winner, and we are also going to see a champion, Thorpedo Anna, last year's Horse of the Year. We will be talking about her chances in this year's Apple Blossom run this Saturday. And also our special guest this week. We went back to the barn area once again this week to chat with Ray Bryner, who of course is the assistant trainer, the longtime assistant to trainer Kenny McPeek here at Oaklawn. We talked about Thorpedo Anna, Mystik Dan, of course, from the McPeek barn, who won the Kentucky Derby last year. He's looking to make his return to the races in the next couple months. So we're looking forward to listening to Ray and what he has to say about a number of topics regarding the McPeek barn. Let's start, though, talking about what you might have missed, and that was this past week. We talk about two races, and one of them is the Rainbow Stakes. We had two co-features on the program on Sunday afternoon, the Rainbow and the Rainbow Miss. Of course, the Rainbow for Arkansas-bred 3-year-olds going 6 furlongs, the Rainbow Miss for Arkansas-bred 3-year-old fillies. And let's talk about the Rainbow first for the boys. Race number 12 on Sunday was the Rainbow Stakes, and Lord of Rhymes, a second-time starter, going into the race as a maiden, gets the win here for Ernie Witt and Francisco Arrieta, who won 4 races on the Sunday card. We'll mention him in a little while, just how well he's doing later on in the show, but Lord of Rhymes, as you can see here, a nice winner, was towards the back of the field turning for home in a compact group and was able to weave his way through between horses and get the job done. This horse actually debuted for a tag for a maiden $50,000 Arkansas-bred condition, and he ran third after breaking slowly out of the gate in a better-than-looked effort. On Oaklawn.com, he showed us some favorable workouts that indicated he had ability, and obviously Ernie Witt thought so as well, because off that maiden run, he didn't even win in for the tag, but obviously protected in the Rainbow Stakes, and he broke his maiden at odds of 10-1 with Francisco Arrieta. And we will stay on the Francisco Arrieta train as we go to race number 10, rewind about an hour, the Rainbow Miss Stakes, in which Francisco was aboard. Caliente Star for Tammy Hornsby. I guess we could say that Tammy got some good out of the starting gate karma as we interviewed her last week about Rose Palace, who won the La Patarella overnight, and also, of course, Caliente Star. We talked about her leading into this race, the Rainbow Miss, and she remains undefeated with this run here. As you take a look at the replay, down the lane here, took the lead in mid-stretch, and towards the end of the race, you see Francisco wraps up this filly nicely with the ears pricked up. Won very impressively here. I thought she got a 70 buyer for this win. I just thought she was much the best in this race when you look at how she finishes the race. And even though I think she's probably best against state breds at the moment, there's no doubt she has a lot of ability. And we've seen with Holland Ice, who didn't even win this race last year, defeated by Hush It Honey, and we've seen Holland Ice go on to beat Open Company, get big speed figures, stamp herself as a graded stakes quality filly, and you just never know with a runner like Caliente Star. She's bred to go 2 turns as well by Tapiture out of a Sydney's Candy mare. Sydney's Candy himself won the Santa Anita Derby at 1 1/8, a horse that had speed that could stretch it, and Tapiture was a 2-turn horse for trainer Steve Asmussen back in the day. So we know that Caliente Star on the pedigree alone will be able to stretch out. It'll be interesting what Tammy Hornsby does with this filly here, and whether maybe after Oaklawn she runs against Open Company, or whether maybe they give her a break and they wait till her 4-year-old year and return her here to Oaklawn Park. But 2 runners there, obviously, that have some ability in the Arkansas bred rankings. Lord of Rhymes, Caliente Star. You want to watch them both and keep an eye on them for future races for them. Now we get to the hidden gems, and I think that there is one hidden gem today that really impressed me first time out, and coincidentally this hidden gem came in the Rainbow Stakes against Lord of Rhymes. His name, Hicko, a first-time starter. That's right, Ron Moquedu conditions this guy He opted to run this horse first out in a stake. And Ron's got a good amount of 3-year-old Arkansas-bred horses, colts and geldings specifically. So you knew that heading into this race, they must have liked this horse back in the barn. And if you take a look at this start here, Hicko, he's going to break from post position number 5. He got bet as well. I think he went off at about 3-1, 7-2. And this horse broke slowly out of the gate, was off the pace, getting towards the rail. And if you fast forward into the far turn, you're going to see this horse sort of behind horses, looking for a spot. In upper stretch, he had to alter course, got pinned in behind horses, finally found a seam down on the rail when the rail opened up. But at that point, it was just a little bit too much to ask of a horse this inexperienced and just running his first race off of workouts alone, and also running against horses that have competed in the past and had a seasoning edge. He only lost by about 2 lengths in this race. So an Arkansas bred that you want to look out for next time, Hicko. Keith Asmussen was aboard this guy here for the Ron Moquette barn, and I would imagine if he runs in a maiden race at the end of this meeting, maybe on the last week of the meeting, maybe a couple weeks from now, possibly if they wheel him back, I would think this horse will go off favorite, and I would also think that he would be awfully tough to beat if he gets a decent trip, and he maybe even can improve conditioning-wise, maybe even runs faster with a better trip, much faster than what we saw in this race from him. So a 4th place finish from Hicko in the stake, the Rainbow Stakes on Sunday afternoon. Well, we've got a special guest. We mentioned him, Ray Bryner, who, of course, the longtime assistant to trainer Kenny McPeek. And we're going to take a look at this interview here. We went to the barn area, went into the McPeek barn, and got some really cool knowledge from Ray. So here's the interview we filmed earlier this morning. Let's take a look at it. I am here in the Kenny McPeek barn. This isn't Kenny, this is Ray Bryner, the assistant for trainer Kenny McPeek. And last week we interviewed Ray, Tammy Hornsby, who has about 30 horses. Your operation is a lot more,
yeah.
A couple hundred.
Yeah, he carries about 180 in training,
wow.
And plus we have another 100 at the farm.
So what would you say the difference is between managing a 30-horse stable for these trainers, and I know you can't speak for Kenny, versus a large operation like this?
Well, it's just astronomical difference. He's got 5 strings to worry about, plus the farm and the training center, and he buys and sells a lot of horses, or goes to the sales and buys a lot of horses, so that takes on his time. But it's mostly the logistics is the problem. You know, he calls it musical race horses. Yeah. We move horses around all the time. It's no big thing to have horses that double entered, and we run where it makes the most sense. And you never really know where they're going to be, but 2 or 3 days before they run, they get on the truck.
So as the assistant for Kenny, one of them anyway, he has a few different ones, do you keep track of all the different horses, or is that Kenny's responsibility and then you get information once they're coming your way to your string?
He uses a management system. It's called T-Lore. A lot of horse people use it, and I can pull up the set list for every division at any time. So if there's races marked from horses coming from another division, I kind of pay attention to that, so that I know maybe that horse is coming, so we can plan around it. And like I said, there's so much to keep track of that system is really beneficial. But I can pay attention to every horse in our string, and if there's ownership changes, sometimes we have to know that, and make sure that the colors are there for that particular horse for a race. There's a lot of moving parts all the time.
For sure, and colors meaning the silks for the different owners and making sure that the silks are correct.
And if you get multiple ownerships, half the time they all want to have their turn.
For
so
sure.
You got to make sure you got all the colors there. And there's just a lot of bases to touch.
This is really a 24/7, 365-day a year type of job.
The phone never stops ringing.
So you got to charge your iPhone or whatever phone
living
you got.
proof. Here's Kenny now.
Kenny McPeek.
Let me just
let him
know
take
what
that.
we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So that was Kenny McPeek. So of course, you're always on the phone.
Like I said, the phone never stops ringing. If it's not him, it's one of the other assistants calling about, numerous things that we have to communicate with.
We are here by a Kentucky Derby winner's stall, Mystik Dan, who of course won the Kentucky Derby last year. And by the way, for folks at Oaklawn, you can look at the Kentucky Derby trophy, some items, the win picture in the Oaklawn hotel lobby. Mystik Dan having his lunch here, Ray. He has been paraded by you guys, along with Thorpedo Anna, really giving the fans a chance to be up close and personal with these star athletes. And again, not just athletes, but the stars of the show. I know you can't speak for Kenny himself, but what do you think is so important to have these horses being able to be in front of the fans and to get the fans up close and personal with them?
Well, our game's going through some tough times compared to years past, and anything you can do to kind of keep the fans involved and keep them enthused about it, I think it's a plus.
And what types of work do you have to do to get them prepared to go in front of the fans like
Well,
this?
most horses, if they're well adjusted, and if they're a quality horse, most quality horses are well adjusted. They can pretty much handle what you throw at them. You know, he went out there like a pro. She did the same. It was, just another gallop.
Mystik Dan, speaking of galloping, he worked out the other morning at the time of this recording, yesterday morning.
Yes.
He worked in company with another horse inside. How did you think he went?
Thought he worked perfect. We wanted 12s all the way around there, meaning 12 for an eighth of a mile. He went 48 flat, perfect, galloped out in 59 and 4, 59 and 4, 59 and 3. Galloped out 3/4 in 13. So he went out strong. Not, he wasn't running off strong, but it was perfect to put a little more air in him and get him to the next step. And he's coming back from another little layoff, so it was exactly how we drew it up. We had Robbie Alvarado on him, and you can't ask for a better breeze rider. He knows, he's Hall of Fame material, and that's why we have him.
For sure, he's won over 5,000 races. I think 5,222 or something along those lines.
Over 50 grade ones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it nice to have a rider like Robbie Alvarado who can give you feedback that maybe other folks might not have the experience to?
Absolutely. He's priceless for that.
Obviously, his first two races didn't go as planned. Did you find any excuses, or were you surprised by it? What were you sort of making of these?
Right off the bat, it was going into the Christmas holidays, and there were no airplane flights for horses because FedEx, that's who we can use now. They don't fly horses that close to the holidays because they have so much else going on moving cargo. So at the last minute, we made the choice to put him on a truck and haul him out there, and it was a 2,000-mile trip in 2 days, and unloaded halfway there, and it wasn't a perfect scenario, and he didn't get there very far in advance to the race, so it was throwing a lot at him. And first race back off the shelf, the Malibu, they don't mess around. It's you got to be speed oriented. And he'd been running. His last race was the Belmont, so he wasn't probably keen enough to be on the pace like you probably need in the Malibu. And long story short, he showed a little gas. He tried to be contentious and then faded. So if you think back on it, it all makes sense.
And then, of course, he had to travel across country to the Pegasus and ran
Exactly.
against a lot of good company.
Exactly. It was just, we threw a couple curveballs at him, and he swung and missed, that's all.
So you're freshening him up. So far, he's doing good here.
Doing excellent.
Is there a next possible spot, or are you still waiting until he gets a little bit closer?
I think they're just kind of biding their time and letting him come to himself, and when he's jumping and kicking and asking for more, they'll pick a spot.
And of course, Mystik Dan is one of a couple stable stars in your barn currently here at Oaklawn. We're going to head to the other side of the barn here and go over a second star that a lot of you are very familiar with.
Go see Horse of the Year.
Let's do it. All right, we are here by the champion, Thorpedo Anna's stall. Of course, Thorpedo Anna, winner of the Breeders' Cup Distaff to end her 3-year-old campaign. She won the Fantasy, the Kentucky Oaks, just narrowly lost to Fiercest in the Travers against the males. I think 9 wins, 2 seconds from 11 starts, so can't be much more consistent than that. And here she is. Ray, you're feeding her peppermints here, and tell us a little bit about her personality within the barn. Obviously, you got the peppermints, so you're finding her sweet side. Does she have a little sassy side, or is she very much like this all the time?
She is. She's like a soldier. She is on go at all times. Never has a bad day. Loves to train. Likes the game. Likes her job. I don't know what else you can say. She's just a consummate pro.
She worked out here on Monday going 5 furlongs in a minute flat. So that's about 5 days before her race. She is, of course, running this weekend on Saturday in race number 11 of 12, the Apple Blossom, 1.25 million, grade 1, of course. Ray, what were you looking for in that work? Because that was a pretty swift time 5 days out.
Just a nice steady 5/8. She was 12s all the way around there. Galloped out in 12 flat. Exactly what we wanted. Robbie's been getting on her. He knows her better than anybody. Him and I had her as a 2-year-old and got her ready to race. And, intermittently we have her all the time. Or not all the time, but from time to time. And he knows her about as well as anyone. And he knows how to hit the mark.
Did you know pretty early on that she was a pretty special filly?
We did. When we got her back from Churchill early in her 2-year-old year, it was probably June or July. She had an issue with her shins, and they had her entered. They scratched her and put her on the vet's list. So we got her. She was pretty shin sore, so we had to slow down a little bit, get her, a lot of ice therapy, get her through it. We didn't stop on her. We trained her through it and then everything tightened back down. She got good. We took her to the gate. She wasn't real keen about the starting gate. She had a little issue in the beginning. Like the first day we took her, she kind of threw a fit in there and got some scrapes and scratches. And Robbie and I were patient with her and took her back a lot and got her where she's confident at the gate and got her ready. And the first time we ran her, she ran out of the screen. So.
And that's when you knew, hey, we got something nice on our hands here for sure. Have you seen mental maturity from her? Because I know Kenny talked a little bit about, for example, last year in the Fantasy, she got a little hot. This year in the Azeri, she came back to the same inside paddock here at Oaklawn and was calm, cool, and collected.
Her first start at Saratoga, she got really rattled in the paddock. Even in the Kentucky Oak, she got hot. Well, since she got back here, she's just been cool and quiet and collected. Hasn't turned a hair. So.
And she's figuring to work out a good trip drawn outside
Yeah.
in a rather relatively small field if all 7 go. That's not super small, but it's not huge either. I've noticed too, as she's gotten older, she's also learned to relax rather than early in her career where she was very much go.
She was pretty rammy early on, just take him, and now she just kind of cruises, and when he pulls the trigger, she takes off.
There's another horse in your barn that I do want to ask about, Latlong, who's running on Saturday. So since we're here with you, we might as well ask. This horse has been getting good speed figures. A lot of races, he kept running in second and third behind horses that ended up coming back and running well in stakes company. And he finally put it all together last time out in a first level allowance. He's taken the next step up to second level allowance company later on in the program on Saturday. So tell us a little bit about Latlong, because I know you guys have liked him for a while.
We've liked him for quite a while, and last year he broke his maiden here, and we thought, oh, we got a really nice horse. And then the next start or two, he's the kind of horse that gets himself, he doesn't really break sharp, so you kind of got to put him in the race, and it took a while for the riders to figure that out about him. And last time Brian rode him here, Kenny told him in the paddock, he said, get him, put him in the race. Don't let him, don't give him too much work to do, turn him for home. So Brian hustled him a little bit away from there, and he was just sitting right behind him. And when he moved him, he just moved and kicked on, and it was plenty. So hopefully, if he makes it through this next race the same way, no telling what sky may be the sky's the limit.
And the last question I have for you, would you say with an older horse like that's run a bunch and they learn how to race, there is a mentality of, hey, I finally won a race, it's a confidence booster. Have you seen that?
Exactly. He was always just a little too far out of it to when he made his move for it to really pan out. The last time he got position and it worked, and a lot of times the light goes on and they put races in a row together. So.
This is Ray Bryner, ladies and gentlemen. You come by the Kenny McPeek barn, especially during the Oaklawn season, you're going to see him here working hard with a good team behind you here. Thanks for taking the time, Ray.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks to Ray for taking the time to chat with us for our Out of the Starting Gate YouTube show. It really was fun to go back and talk to Ray and hear about his knowledge. He's been around the game for a long time. He was talking to me about how he trained on his own at one point. He used to work for Charlie Whittingham, Jerry Dutton, legendary trainers on the West Coast. He also consigned horses at sales, so he's been around a while. And on top of that, Ray also rode quarter horses at Los Alamitos when he was just 16 years old. He started riding in races, so he knows what it's like to be around good horses. And the Kenny McPeek barn, they run a very efficient operation. So it was really fun to hear what Ray had to say about a number of topics for the McPeek barn. Of course, Thorpedo Anna, she is running this Saturday, the horse of the year in the Apple Blossom. And we're going to start with her race. Why not? The Apple Blossom. $1.25 million, one of the most prestigious races, not only here at Oaklawn, but in terms of filly and mare grade 1 status. It's one of the most prestigious races all year round for fillies and mares. Going a mile and a 16th with the grade 1 status, of course. And let's take a look at the field here. Thorpedo Anna, she's number 6 in this race. And we'll start talking about Thorpedo Anna. Let's get to this replay here. Second start off a layoff. She ran in the Azeri Stakes last time out, and she won this race easily, I thought. I don't think she needed the run. It looked like turning for home. Maybe she might have to run a little bit, might have to do some work. Free Like a Girl was not giving her much of an inch, really, but Thorpedo Anna just coasted clear, one with the ears pricked up, one like a filly that had a lot more in the tank, and she's going to have to win the Apple Blossom if she wants to defeat the main foe in Where's My Ring, and we'll talk about her in a second. I think Thorpedo Anna is definitely one that she's going to take a lot of money. She's going to work out a good trip from post 6 in the field of 7. She can go to the lead. She can stalk the pace. She's got the perfect type of running style. 9 wins, 2 seconds from 11 lifetime starts. And the horse of the year, making her second start at Oaklawn this season, second start of the year. And she will be cranked up for the Kenny McPeek barn. Also in the race, Where's My Ring? Really a new shooter to the grade 1 conditions. And looking at Where's My Ring's last race, it wowed anybody who watched it. Here's the replay. Francisco Arrieta has the call. Once again, he was aboard last time out. This gal dueled in the lead and then shook clear down the lane, won by about 12 this afternoon as the favorite, was making her second start off a layoff here. First start off the break, she sprinted, ran third. She's a router anyway, so last time out she put it all together, got a 103 by her speed figure here. The pace was not fast, even though it was contentious early in that last race, and she was able to kick on and win nicely. Obviously, going up against Thorpedo Anna, it's a big bump up in class for her, but I think this is a perfect spot to see exactly where she fits. A friend of mine, Michael Patrick is his name, good guy who worked at the Santa Rosa race meets in Northern California for a number of years. He was the one who I'm going to steal this phrase from. It's like a boxer facing the best boxer. You're an up-and-comer, you've got ability, now it's time to go in the ring and face the champion and see exactly where you stack up against the best of the best, and that's the case with Where's My Ring. If she runs back to her last race, she stacks up fairly handsomely against a runner like Thorpedo Anna. I'm not even going to go on a limb and say that she would beat Thorpedo Anna, but what I will say is that Where's My Ring off that last race has shown that she is ready to run against very, very tough, top-notch company, and I think that Where's My Ring would be the one to defeat Thorpedo Anna if anybody does. This is a good opportunity to see exactly where she fits in the older filly and mare route division, because she did win the grade 3 Gazelle last year. She's shown ability. She ran in the Kentucky Oaks, did not run that well, so it's not like she's popped out of nowhere. She has been well thought of and has had a decent resume in the past to suggest she has talent. Where's My Ring? Thorpedo Anna, they're going to square off. Free Like a Girl, I need to mention her. She's earned over $2 million, just a really cool Louisiana bred. This might be her last race, according to her connections. After the Apple Blossom, she may head off to her next stage of her life, motherhood, to be a broodmare, but Free Like a Girl, she is one that was coming off that runner-up finish, ran second to Thorpedo Anna in the Azeri Stakes. Looks to turn the tables. It won't be easy. Also, Wild Bout Hillary, she won the grade 3 Bayakoa here in February. She acted up in the gate in the Azeri Stakes and was a late scratch out of the race. So trainer Tanner Tracy has had to train her into the Apple Blossom. After that Grade 3 win, she is looking for, at the very least, a Grade 1 placing. That's race 11 of 12. And it is the $1.25 million Apple Blossom on Saturday afternoon. We go to the co-feature on the card as well, the top sprint race here every year at Oaklawn. It's the Count Fleet Handicap. 7 runners are entered in this race. Here's a look at the field, and at 3 to 5 on the morning line, you've got Booth as your morning line favorite here. Booth number 3 in the race, coming off of back-to-back wins in the Commodore Overnight Stakes and then most recently in the Grade 3 Whitmore. Got a 107 buyer for his gate-to-wire win in the Whitmore Stakes. Here's the replay coming up on the screen. Eric Asmussen has ridden the last couple races, and clearly this horse is one that likes 6 furlongs, and he likes to be on the lead, and they've figured out exactly what he wants to do. 6 furlongs, break out of the gate, go to the front, and take it to him. Got a 105 buyer in the Commodore Overnight Stakes, so this horse has run some top-notch races. If you're running those types of numbers and winning these sprint races, you have ability to win a Grade 1. So Booth in this Grade 3 Count Fleet, $500,000 is the purse, a 6 furlong event here. He is the one to beat, surely, in the Count Fleet. Another interesting contender, I think, is coming from California. His name is Anarchist. Kyle Frey will be in town to ride for trainer Doug O'Neill. And Anarchist last year won the 7 furlong Grade 2 Pat O'Brien. He's cutting back to 6 furlongs. Went overseas, tried tough company there, did not run well. And ever since then, he hasn't been quite himself, but he's looking to get back to his best form. If he can run back to something like the Pat O'Brien, I don't know if he could beat Booth really, but I do think he could hit the board. So Anarchist is certainly one, a wild card in the Count Fleet that has some class. One more race we want to mention before we sign off here is our Friday feature. And I think it's very important to talk about this race because the headliner in the race from the Steve Asmussen barn is a 2-time winner of the Count Fleet. That's right, Skelly, number 1. Let's take a look at his replay last year in the Count Fleet Handicap. Obviously a sensationally fast horse that loves Oaklawn Park. He's 8 for 10 here at Oaklawn with 1 runner-up finish. The only time he finished off the board, it was very much far behind in his career a couple years ago when he wasn't nearly as fast and talented as he is now. This horse here, 10 for 19 with 7 seconds. I mean, he just usually doesn't miss. He always runs his race. We saw the last time he ran in the Breeders' Cup Sprint at Grade 1. He ran poorly, has been given time off, and returns to the races here at Oaklawn over a track he loves. Skelly draws the rail. He is 3 to 5 in a good allowance race. That's race 9 on a 10-race program this Friday at Oaklawn Park. Weather is supposed to be terrific. We had some rough patches of weather last week. That will not be the case this weekend according to our forecast. We're looking at sunny skies, a fast track, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday racing. First post on Saturday is 12:20 on the 12-race card. Apple Blossom Day, of course. 10 races on Friday afternoon. First post is 12:45, a little bit later than usual, just to make sure we stay off of Keeneland and can run our races so we don't run exactly right with Keeneland. And then 9 more races on Sunday. First post a little bit earlier, 12:20. And there you have it. We are looking forward to a fun week of racing here at Oaklawn Park. A special thanks to Ray from the McPeek barn for taking his time to chat with us. And we'll see you next week for another edition Out of the Starting Gate. Well, we'll be talking about the Oaklawn Handicap. That's next Saturday. But we got a lot of fun racing this week, so enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you next week.